the accountability coach. Bear with me as I get up a couple more, get some more people in here. Feel free to take this time out to let people know that Coach Trev is live. Usually I go live 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. This has been a bit of a week. So before I really jump in, I'm going to let me just get some more folks in here and go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know where you're watching in from. Let me know where you are watching in from. All right, let's go. All right, so I got people on multiple platforms here, multiple platforms, and let's go. All right, so that's off, and let's get this started. All right, hey, everyone here. So I've got people on multiple platforms. So if you are seeing me, definitely give a shout out. I know I haven't been live this week. I've been live on one other platform, but otherwise I am live now. So get a chance, come in. I hope everyone is well. Actually, let me pull this up to make sure that what I'm doing too is I have a couple of monitors. And so I am opening up my second monitor so that I can see any comments you all provide, and let me mute myself so I'm not pouring into the platform. All right, so that's good. All right, so we've got one there. Let's back up the truck. Let's be sure we mute that. All right, cool. And let's look at this truck here. Come on. All right, and let me mute that. Good. So all that is muted. I'm looking at the camera. So now at least I have access so that if you comment or say anything, I'm going to, that way I can respond. Second book update. Okay. And let me just do this. So as I said, be sure that you come in, you comment, let me know where you're from. Say, hey, happy Friday, everyone. Give me a quick second. Here we go. Let's see. All right, I'm just putting a title here, second book update. I've been in the throes of publishing my second book. And if anyone has written a book before, you know there are some challenges here. So just wanted to take this time to share. So this is going to be light. I know people, you are all preparing for this. So hey, what's going on, everyone? Okay. Finding my the phone. Definitely when you're going live, you are in multiple, and it's not multiple. When you're going live, it is a production, and so it's a process. So I thank you all for bearing with me. I appreciate it. And so I am going to go here. What was that? Nope. Cancel that. And let's go here. Okay. All right. So am I live? Yes, I am. So let me know where you're coming in from. Let me know where you are coming in from, everyone. Here we go. All right. And let me make sure that I can access these comments here. All right. Quiet there. All right. Quiet on the front, which is fine. So, hey, what's going on? Hey, Astro, how are you? Hope everything is well with you. Let me go ahead and share this out. So I am sharing this out with tons of people to let them know that, hey, I am live. And to give you an update, for anyone that's been following me, I post daily about various goals that I am doing and involved with. So feel free to ask me some questions. I have a number of goals. I'm an accountability coach. If this is your first time, nice to meet you. Thank you so much for stopping in. Hopefully you'll stay around for this. I don't plan to be on here long, but we're just gonna flow and see, and we're just gonna flow. And if there are any questions, pop them into the chat. Hey, stay true. Thank you so much for stopping in. And so you may hear me say different things to different people. They know who they are. And so I'm just glad that everyone's here. Feel free to share this out. I am sharing it out. Don't worry, I'm almost done. Thank you all for bearing with me. It's funny. I was almost about to share it with myself, but we're good. Okay, so we are good. How are you? How are you doing? Stay true. What's going on? So I'm here to give you all an update on my second book. My gosh. And for anyone that's thinking about publishing a book, there is much to be involved in. I'm glad you're good. I'm glad you're good. I hope your weekend is going well. So we've got this going. We've shared it out. I'm just checking here, making sure I've got notes and everything. All right. So for those who don't know, I have a book out. I published it about a few years ago called The Doorways of Life. Yes. And so that was one of my first books. Now, I've always had the idea of being an author. I've had titles come to my head. I've written them down. I've put them in journals. And I've had those for years upon years. Now, the challenge about creating the book was really my view upon it, meaning that I was looking to basically lift the entire mountain. What I mean by that is that when I thought of an author, I'm thinking that, okay, these are hours upon hours where I'm sitting in front of a computer and I'm typing away, typing this, typing that, typing the chapter. This is going to be a thing. And so when you look at it, that point of view, it can put it in a perspective that's unattractive. And so what happens is at that time, sight becomes the enemy of vision. That's right. Sight becomes the enemy of vision. So there wasn't an alignment with what I wanted, what I had internally, with what I was seeing externally. So remember, when it comes to your brain is going to believe whatever you think. If you think that you can do it, it's going to believe it and look for evidence to make it happen. If you think you can't do it, your brain is going to look for evidence to make that happen. So it's not saying whether it's good or bad. There's no filter on your mind, on your mental. It's just saying that if there's a thought that you're constantly thinking, then your mind is going to look and search for the evidence, look for alignment for that. So when I was thinking about the second book update, I was thinking, okay, I've got these posts that I put out every day about certain goals that I've been doing, and showing the ups, showing the challenges, all of that. So yes, as an accountability coach, do I help my clients reach their goals? Yes, I do. Do I help them gain clarity? Yes, I do. Do I help them develop milestones? Yes, I do. Now, would I take the goals that I'm doing and put them upon my clients? No, I wouldn't. Because remember, every client is different. Every person is different. When you look at your persons and you look at your times, you've got to understand that you are unique. There is no comparison. What happened with one person may not be the same for you. And so it's important that we don't get caught up in the comparison issue, meaning that if this person has gone this far, why can't I make it this far? Many times we're comparing a person's chapter to our own lives. And so all we're seeing really is a sliver. So got to be mindful about comparing someone's sliver to our entire life. We're not sure what got them there. So that's being that. Now, what I was saying about my book is that when I came up with titles years ago, I was convinced that someday I would write my book. Someday it would happen. Someday it would go far. Someday this title, I'd be out there signing books, talking on stages, etc. Now, I always joke about this because I'd say to myself that anytime you look on a calendar, you'll see the days of the week. Some day is not on there. That's not a day on the calendar. If it's important, then you want to put it, you want to take the time to schedule it. So thankfully, as the years progressed, I'm an accountability coach, but I see coaches. Hey, welcome in. I see coaches that come in, and so with those with those coaches pour into me. If you have a coach, your coach should have a coach. Just like your doctor should have a doctor, and if you have a therapist, your therapist should have a therapist. So I have coaches that were pouring into me, and so I have a couple of coaches that handle various parts. I had started posting content and doing a series. And in the series, I told my coach about it. I was excited because I was coming up with ideas. I was coming up with the imagery, the metaphors, all of that. My coach said, well, why don't you take that video series and create a book out of it? I never saw it. I didn't look at it. My eyes weren't open to it. But when they said it, that triggered it. I was open to that change. I was open to receiving that. And so when I realized that the possibility of writing a book was different than my preconception, I moved forward. So you have to think about that too. How many of us are walking around and we're not walking in our inspiration, something that we feel deeply about because of a preconception, a thought that was we're either adopted or was planted into us that we have not put a boundary on, that we haven't checked, we haven't examined and see where did you come from? We haven't questioned it. So that's one of the things you want to think about is when is the last time you sat and reviewed your thoughts, your conceptions, those things that come up? You should do that. It should be something where you schedule it, something you do regularly, saying, why do I think about this? Where did it come from? What's the purpose of it? Is it helping me or is it hindering me? Grill it, put it under the spotlight, put it under the spotlight like it's a, like it's a guilty, it's a guilty client, and grill that thought. And you've got to understand and say, is this something that I need or is this something that's a weed? If it's a weed, it's got to be plucked out. And when you pluck out a weed, understand this is that if you just pluck out the shoot, it's going to come back. That's why it's important. You need to pluck out the root. So don't just take the shoot. You got to grab it by the root. Because if the root is still there, it's going to grow back. That's how it's going to be. So, nope, not sure who you are, so I'm going to decline you. So yeah, that's important to really take note is that question your conceptions, question your thoughts. Whether you're writing a book, whether you are, whether you have goals about traveling, whether there's a business you want to start, or there's a position in your current job that you're aiming for, a degree, a certain skill, a trade that you aspire to reach, you've got to think about it and say, what is the reason? What's the holdup? And if there's a reasonable holdup, question it, grill it, put it through the process, because that thought that you now have about your goal, that thought may be outdated. And if it is, it's time to be removed and replaced with a better, more appropriate thought. Some thoughts are there for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And you've got to be diligent and intentional about questioning those thoughts and beliefs and making sure that they are helping you and not hindering you. All right. Is this landing? If this is landing, put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if this is landing. All right. Okay. So, to my book. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the 1. Thank you so much. Thank you for the 1. Thank you for the taps and all of that good stuff. Okay. And let's go ahead and do that. Boom. Okay. Now, as I was moving along with my second book and my preconception had been changed by my coach, I now decided to replace that because one of the things I've learned, and sometimes I buck against this idea that nature hates a vacuum, meaning that if you have a bad thought or if you have a bad, let's say we're looking in a room and it must be filled with something, you clean it all out. Your mindset is, okay, that's an empty space, fill it up. And unless you train yourself, your idea is going to be, your nature is to fill this space with something. So when you have a bad thought, a bad conception, when you've grilled your beliefs, it's not, there's the first step is to remove it, to say, I no longer believe this. I'm no longer adopting this mindset. I'm evicting this. I'm throwing this out. You can no longer live here. So now that you've thrown it out, that space is empty. Here's the thing, that thought goes away, checks out the world, maybe goes down the street around the corner, takes a ride, gone for a few hours, maybe a day or so. It is going to come back. Now, the question is, when it comes back, is it going to find the space occupied or vacant? Now, if the space is vacant, I thought it was like, oh, I'm moving back in. Sweet. Okay. I was just going for a while. They were doing some spring cleaning. It was just, I understand. You just wiping on the windows and everything there. No, it's important that that space now becomes occupied. So you have to remove that thought. So and it's not just a removal, you have to replace it with a better one. You've got to trade that thought for a better one. So if that is a tradition, you've got to trade that thought for something that's going to be better. So I had to trade my thought that typing for hours upon hours was what authors do. That's all they do. They have the time. Someone is paying their bills in the meantime, but they have hours and hours, days, weeks, months, whatever, in order to do that. They're living, quote unquote, off their advance. And of course, I got that thought from movies. You'd be surprised about how many things you get from watching TVs and shows and everything. Then, of course, there's a reason they call it, that back in the day they call it television programming. Key emphasis on programming. So I tossed the thought of my book and I was like, okay, and I had all these books. I had like, a first book, a second book. And I'm like, okay, I've got to update my thoughts. I've got to update what I think about X, Y, and Z. Hey, Ann, and what I think about this. So as I'm doing this and moving forward into this, I began to work on my second book. And it was written by many different mediums. It was, it was a process. Now, getting the words out, definitely a process. It was fun. It was good in order to get it coordinated, to get it arranged and organized. It was like a labor of love. I enjoyed that process. It was great to be able to say, well, this chapter flows into this, or maybe I talk about this here and talk about that. It was great because there's a creativity that was in me. And when it comes to, those that write your books, there's creativity in you as well. So never mind my second book, my first book. So as I'm update, all this is me in my updated mindset. And so I'm like moving free, going, great, this is what I'm doing. So I get all my thoughts down, I type it, I'm like, great, I got a table of contents, I got my chapters, I'm ready to go. Now, all I have to do is publish. Now, when I thought the word publish, I don't know, for some reason in my mind, it was like, oh, okay, let me just, I got it right here. I got it in this doc. It's nice and clean. There's some spacing. I made sure the words are spelled correctly. There was some, the sentences flowed, that it wasn't too big, that there's enough white space for the eyes. I'm like, I got my titles, my subtitles, my headings, and mind you, side note, I'm a fan of that. I like proofreading. So if someone said, hey, I wrote this paper, I wrote this, that, can you review it and check it out? I enjoy that. I enjoy looking at that and say, okay, how can this be better? Does this make sense? Is there a misspelling? This is what about this contraction? Things like that. I enjoy that. That's something I was like. So I was like, okay, great. Now, the publishing piece, way different. Something I underestimated. My first book, I had somebody do that. They're the ones that I gave them the document. They went and took the time and did the ruling, the rules, the justifications, and all that stuff. So when I got it back, it looked great. It was like, okay, this is nice. This is what it looks like. Yeah. And excuse me. Oh, excuse me. And Let me just make sure everything's copacetic here. Cool. Excuse me about that. Didn't mean to sneeze you out. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Okay, so happy Friday. So I got my book back, I got it back, and I was like, okay, this is it. It's got the rules, got the lines, got the justifications, got all that stuff. And now it was a matter of okay, it's time to publish it. And going through those steps, realizing that I had to spend X, Y, and Z, it was such a disappointment. I felt like I was at I could see the finish line, but then all of a sudden, these trucks and people came in the way out of nowhere. And man, did that put a damper on me. I was highly upset because I was unaware. I came away and no one told me, and I could should have been told. So was I upset? Yes, I was extremely upset. But I did get the book out. It was a blessing. And since then, I've been able to do some events, speak on stages, do some pop-ups, and run some things. Just it was great. It was excellent, and so and it was definitely a labor of love. So it's been 3 years, and I am, and so now because. And I've been before, you had somebody pushing me. This time, I was like, okay, I didn't want to be just that one book person. You do one book and that's it. No, I've had these titles in my head, and I said, let me go ahead. It's time for my second book. It's 3 years. My first book is 3 years old. Oh, yeah, I know. May 23rd, I believe, was the 3 year anniversary of my book. So, and I should celebrate. You know what? Interesting. So that was a 3 year anniversary. It's a blessing to be able to have that. And so I said, you know what? It is time for me to work on my second book. All right. Hey, Kenneth. Thanks for stopping in. Hope everything is well with you. So I started working on my second book last year. Now I'm a fan of alliteration, and so I have the doorways of life, and I was thinking, let me do a volume two, because the doorway is something you walk through. What happens once you enter into the room? And so I wanted to keep that theme. Now, if you're not familiar with my first book, as I said, The Doorways of Life, I take the image of a book and I compare it with different life events. So every one of us, we have birthdays, we have um, there's holidays, there are events that happen. Maybe it's a new position, maybe it's a new job, moving to a new state, um, reaching a certain area in our life. It's a doorway that we go through. And so I took that image and I put that in a book, Doorways of Life. And so I have different chapters called Who Has Access to You? What's blocking your door? Um, do you have an automatic or manual door? What are you sitting in front of? Or, so and I like that imagery. So I continued with that, and that was my book. Now my second book, which is going to be out, which is being published today. And let me just confirm that. Bear with me. Come on. Let's do this. Okay. Good and good. Now, looking at that, so yes, so that's it's in review. It's going to be published, which is great. I've already got some places and things in mind, and I'm looking forward to it. So my second book is called the Doorways of Life, Volume Two: The Gates of Growth. So Doorways of Life, Gates of Growth. So will there be a third book? Yes, there will be in this series. Will I stop at 3? I might. 3 is a popular number. So I'm kind of a fan of that. Hey, Carmen. Hope everything is well with you. Thank you for coming in. Feel free to give a daily heartbeat, share it out, tap the screen, any of that stuff. Sorry about that, y'all. A call just came in. So, oh, let me make sure I'm not losing. Okay, so yes, The Doorways of Life, Volume 2, The Gates of Growth. So now, this book is really about what are you doing once you're in that room, once you cross the threshold of that doorway. What are you doing now? So it's the natural progression to where you are, to you transitioning. So even my first book, there's a chapter about hallways. Hallways is a transition period where you may be transitioning between projects, between ideas, between goals. Maybe you're halfway there, a quarter of the way there. We're currently in the month of July, just July 3rd, which means that 2 days ago, the second half of the year started. So this could be a transition for you. This could be a time where a time of reckoning where you can reset, restart, reflow. So I've got my book, and so now this is where I am with the book. I was posting about it too. I had mentioned that my goal was to get the book out by the end of June, or to get it published by the end of June. Now, as I said, what I underestimated, I seriously underestimated this, was the amount of formatting that was needed in order to get the book in the proper status. Because when you're in a document, whether you need a document, it comes with certain justifications, certain rules, certain margins, header, footer, etc. And you're typing away, you're like, okay, I'm putting this in, and whether you're typing or however you're getting the words on the paper, it's got certain rules. Now, when you're uploading a book, it's got to be in a certain format, because you can't have these wide margins. They got to fit on pages, depending upon how big the book is, And a lot of times, if you're going to buy a book, some people, you're not looking at the measurements. I mean, you're looking at the size of the book, you're looking at the cover, you're not thinking about the measurements. Is this book 5 by 5, 6 by 9? There are a ton of measurements there are a bunch of measurements out there, depending upon your book. So, and so there are a lot of ways for you to do it, because when in one document you may have headers, things that you have. So you've got the chapter title, you've got your beginning, and maybe there are different sections of that chapter. Those, that font, the header subheader for that font is big. You've got to make sure that it's not immediately pushing something back where there's too much space here, not enough space there, words are running off the page. There is so much. Now, I say this not to scare you. I say this just as a heads up, because when it comes to your goals, when it comes to you writing a book, it is possible that you could learn the ways in order to get the right justification, the right formatting, that you can upload your book yourself if you're doing self-publishing. Now, if you're working with a publishing house and they're going to publish it, and then worry about it. You just got to get the words on paper, organize them, make sure it's current, make sure it flows, and that you're speaking to your audience. That's what you have to do. Once you send that document, that's on them to do all that formatting, covers. You approve the covers, they created covers, make sure that it's available in certain make sure it's available everywhere, wherever you're going, especially where your audience is, whoever you're writing to. That's the publisher. On the other hand, if you're self-publishing, then that's on you to be able to say that, to be able to, one, get your book out, make sure that the cover fits, make sure everything is in the right formatting, that the letters are lining up. You've got to think about the front cover, the back cover. You got to think about the binding, those things there, because if a book's on a shelf, how does this read? Is the title reading? Is your name on the title? Stuff like that. All these things come into play, things that we take for granted. But when you become an author, you've got to take that into consideration. So how does that happen? Now with covers, that can be done. You can either have someone else do it. You can do it yourself. Maybe a learning curve. So these are a lot of this you could do yourself. However, if you have a deadline, you've got to plan it appropriately. It's important to segment things out so that once you are moving forward with your book, moving forward, that you have enough space. If you've got an event, if you are if there is something that you put out there and say, listen, letting people know I've got my workshop coming up, etc. This will be on my new book. I've got an author talk. You've got to have your physical book there with you. Your book has got, you want to be able to have the space, the cushion, so that you can upload your book, order some copies, have it in hand, look at it, make sure everything is good. If you've got to make some changes, of course, make those changes, order some more. That comes in, everything good? Okay. All right, let's run with this. So you're at that mercy because maybe on print on demand. I don't know if I can say gone are the days, but there were times when people wrote books, they would put it there, they would order stuff there. You'd have to order a bunch, and you keep this in your, you order a ton of them. So that way, if anybody was there, you always had them. Nowadays, there's print on demand, so there's no need for you to keep 500 books stored in your home or wherever. Gone are those days. It's now print on demand, which is beautiful. So right now, for me, my push is that I've got some connections and events and things coming up. I want to be sure that I have the copies in hand so that once I go to these events and I've reviewed and everything, I'm good to go. I can put myself out there and say, hey, connect here. Here's the book. Here's, of course, and I'm bringing my other book too as well. So you get volume 1 and volume 2. Hey. I don't know. I might need to redo the cover on that. We'll see. Now, because that would have been pretty. That would have been pretty prophetic. It would have been great hindsight for me for that first book to be like The Doorways of Life, Volume 1. And like, really? Okay. Now, if you have a series, there are some people that have series in mind. If you have any of those in mind here, and let me just make sure that I'm not missing anything. News. All right. Pardon me, I'm just checking something. Thank you for the likes. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right. Let's keep it up. Okay. So, where was I? Hey, Duke. So regarding my second book, as I said, my update, I wanted to have it done by June 30th. There was, written, knock that out, done deal. Formatting, whole new ground, whole new territory, all those things. And so that was the bit of a challenge there. So when I look at that, I'm going, okay, that's good. Let's see. And I'm moving forward with that. So when it comes to this, it's along those lines of making sure that you know all the pieces that need to be done for your book. There's writing the book, there's formatting book, and then that formatting is so key. It is very key. You want to be sure that you've got the book in certain formats, that it's you've got pages that are alternating, because remember, when you're writing a book, it's different than just having a paper margins are even. Book, however, remember, you got left and you got right. You got to account for that. You got to account for that space. You got to account for the bigger margins. As I said, depends upon your book size. You've got to account for that. So with this second book, I kept it the same measurements as the first one, which I'll probably do when the third book comes out. Just keep them the same, so that way I'm selling them there. So And when I get that third book out, it'll be like bing, bing, bing. Um, and that series will be three. I can see that that will be a 3 book series. I do have other book ideas, and there will be other books that I put out. So that particular book will have three. Now, will the third book come right after the second? Stay tuned. I got some book ideas, and one of them might just come in and might slide in. You never know. You never know. Be sure that you're following my profile. You got your notifications turned on so that when I do give out updates and put this out there, you'll be aware. You'll be notified. Hey, thank you so much. Let's see who stopped in. Hey, Nay, thank you for coming in. Appreciate it. So yeah, that's really it. And I wanted to. So you'll start to see content on here once that's approved and everything there. Once that gets updated and it's available, I will let you all know so you can go ahead and get your copies. That's right. Um, and I'm excited that I'll be a 2-time author. Second book out, yes. First one done, second one done. Never know. First one was May 2023, second one in 2026. Don't worry. Third one is definitely coming way before 2029. Might even come this year. So be sure you're paying attention and keying in on that. Let me know if you have any questions. If you have any ideas, or if you've ever had any aspirations about getting a book out and not sure the steps it takes or how to get involved or who to connect with, put it in comments. I'll be more than happy to answer your question right now. If you want to have a one-on-one session because you have some specific questions and don't want to put that information out there, feel free just to message me and I'll let you know. We can book a strategy session. We can have a discussion on that. I can definitely give you insight on that. I would say one of the key things when it comes to you writing a book is be sure you have somebody that's holding you accountable. That's making sure that you stay on track, making sure that you are doing what you say you do. If you've got a daily goal, a weekly goal, you want to be sure that you are doing all those things so that you're not falling behind and that you're a step ahead. You want to be sure that you've got that time on your calendar, because if it's and that you're measuring your progress. If it's not measured, it's not met. So you want to be sure that you are putting out the time in your calendar for writing your book. Okay. That's a key thing. You want to be sure you have somebody, have an accountability coach. Now, if you want my help with it to help you write your book, I can certainly do that. I have helped others. I've published a book. My first book is a bestseller. I've done an audio book as well, so I do voiceovers. So one of the additional things that I do. So yeah, I am very well versed in self-publishing. And when I say well versed, doesn't mean I know everything. It means that this is my second time in and I'm learning more. I am a strong fan of telling people this is where I bump my head. Do not bump yours. Very strong. All right. So be sure that if you need some help with that, reach out to me. But it's just a strategy call, just a session. A session will discuss what your needs are, what your concerns might be, how to work around that, how to be sure that you are getting the most out of the publishing. Hey, how are you, Salmon? Hope everything is well. All right. So today's Friday. Next time that I'll be live, that I plan to go live, is Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right. Now, usually I go live Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. I may be augmenting that. I may be switching that from Monday to Friday to Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The reason why is because I have my mastermind that I do on Thursdays and need to prepare for that. Now, my mastermind, that's a community I have where the people that are coming in, they have a membership. We take deep dives each week on things around accountability, around achieving your goal. So we actually had a conversation last night about your power windows. And so if you join now, if you join the membership now, you'll have access to that recording. That's right. And you have access to our first week recording. So week 1, done. Week 2, done. So that's where we are with it. Okay. So if you're interested in finding out more about the mastermind that I run, just message me and I'll be in touch with you. If you're interested in becoming a private client, reach out to me and I can give you all the information that you need about that. I do have some spaces open. So if you're interested in that, now would be a great time. We're in the second half of the year, July 3rd. And so now that gives you an option, an opportunity to reset and get some alignment with your goals. Maybe you had some goals at the beginning of the year that you have achieved or haven't achieved, partially there, haven't started, life is life, and etc. All those things. Now, if you're interested, as I said, just reach out to me, send me a message, and I'd be more than willing to connect with you. Okay? All right. Good things, good things, good things. So that is so be sure to ask me some questions. And as I said, if you have any if you don't want to ask them now, you can always message me and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Okay. So thank you all so much. And be sure to enjoy your 4th.